Welcome school committee members, members of the administration, guests. The time is 6 o'clock p.m. I'd like to call the September 23rd, 2025 school committee regular meeting to order, being held at Stoughton Public Schools District Office. This meeting is being recorded by Smack for Future Broadcasting. We have a quorum present, so let's begin. Please rise if you're able for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll start with public comment. Do we have anyone signed up? Excellent. Okay. Next on the agenda is student advisory representative. So,
Hi, my name is Johnny Pena-Perez. I'm the class of 2028 student advisor. Currently, our student council is working on connecting with our class and trying to plan events and different fundraisers and really trying to incorporate the entire school in our events. Currently, we are collecting class dues and we are planning fundraisers that we plan on doing the next few months. In our school at the moment, our theater department is working on Little Shop of Horrors, which is our school show. And sports are looking a lot better this year. As a cheerleader, that makes me very happy. And yeah, that's all. Thank you.
thank you so much. Any questions for our student representative?
I'm really excited for Little Shop of Horrors. Let us know when that is, because I'll definitely go there with my daughter.
Microphone?
My apologies. I'm very excited for Little Shop of Horrors. Let us know when those dates are set, because that's something I'll definitely want to go to.
How was the general atmosphere in the school, student activity, and they really up? I went to a teacher's vacation, and I saw how excited the teachers were to start this year, and I was wondering if the students had the same level of excitement.
Yep, that's a great question. Thank you. I would say the community at school, it's a very good atmosphere, especially with the sports and the different clubs. And yeah, the staff, they're definitely excited to be working with the students this year. I think the students are giving back the same energy, and it looks very good at the moment.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you so much. We really appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to our next agenda item, school committee professional development. So this project started in part because our own policies noted that we are supposed to evaluate ourselves once a year against goals, but it's a little hard to create goals if we don't even have a sense of shared purpose. It has also been noted in public comment that the conduct during school committee meetings could be improved upon for efficiencies to ensure the business of the district is moving forward. So with those goals in mind, we worked with the superintendent to identify someone who would be able to facilitate that conversation for us so that we can create our own norms in terms of how we interact with each other and how we conduct our meetings. It's really important that we do this, one, because as far as I know, the school committee has never had them. It sets a really great precedent for future school committees who, of course, can amend the goals or the norms as they see fit. And of course, we can revisit these norms. We can determine how often we revisit them to ensure that they reflect what we need in order to move forward as a group and a collective. So with that, Dr. Bayed, I wonder if you can introduce Paul and Guilford and how we came to land on this particular consultant.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So for the committee and the public, the Guilfoyle Public Relations has been in Stoughton for a number of years, well over a decade, utilizing and supporting the district superintendent's school committee and, in some cases, emergency situations that we've had to deal with, and how to reach out to the public. As you recall, at one point we didn't have a communications office as we do now, but even then, in a time of crisis, need and support, utilizing an organization that only deals with the public system. So they are with police, fire, and schools. That's what they deal with. That's their expertise. So as you know, we reached out to them per the school committee to come in and take a look at us creating norms as a group of the 5 of you, and then, of course, the superintendent, and then the transition that's coming up to the superintendent-elect kind of made a lot of sense. So Paul and I have known each other from a number of years, going back to literally when we were at the building level to the district office level, and then as superintendents, and he was hired by Guilfoyle upon his retirement to work as one of their specialty folks in the area of education, also providing professional development to administrators and so on and so forth. So Paul's here with us tonight, and we'll ask him to come on up.
Yeah, so I'd like to say that in the packet, you have a summary of the work that we did on July 22nd. For the 5 of us who were present for that, so hopefully you've reviewed it, refresh your memory. It's been a while since July 22nd, it feels like eons ago. And then also Paul put together the working list of committee norms that resulted from that meeting on July 22nd. So Paul, if you can take it from there.
Sure, I think I'm going to ask for your indulgence for just a minute or two because we want to project on the screen, and so that's going to be just a little bit of setup in the process, and so we're working here on that. So, Doggo.
Give folks a chance to peruse the norms again.
As we're doing that, I'm going to talk and walk and chew gum at the same time, if you will. I want to thank Dr. Valletta for the introduction. He's absolutely right. We go back many years. And it's always been a pleasure working collaboratively with him. Again, my name is Paul Zinni. I work for John Guilfoyle Public Relations and wear the shirt that has John's name on it. And we frequently tease him that he could have named his company at least only by the last name because everyone calls me John. They think I'm wearing a name tag on the shirt. But actually, as I said, I'm not. I have over 36 years in public education before I retired. Thank you. You can
Don't take me until it works.
be very careful because there is a cord running behind you. And let's see. All right, look at that. Fantastic. Okay.
You're trapped.
So I'm going to spend a few minutes kind of recapping and summarizing because we have some of the same faces, we have some different faces. And we want to make sure that everyone kind of comes together and feels comfortable on the same page. And I'm recognizing that at this case, is this being recorded?
Yes.
All right, so that was my assumption, and that means that there may be viewers at home, either watching it live or watching a recording of it, who are going to try to figure out what it's all about. So I want to come back and recap a little bit of that. So as I said, I spent 36 years in public education. I started as a special education teacher. I've worked from the elementary through high school level. I was an early childhood principal for a number of years, and I was 12 years as an assistant superintendent special ed director, and then 10 years in 2 districts as a school superintendent. So I've spent a career working in education, and 2 years ago, I realized that I had worked a year after I could retire, and perhaps it was time for me to think about doing other things, even though I love what I was doing. I'm actually married to an educator, so in my house, it's all school all the time. My wife just retired, and she's still working as well, like I am, doing these kinds of projects. But communication was always a real important piece for me. JGPR, John Guilfoyle Public Relations, really was a tool to help me to make sure that I communicated better, and so I became a student of this myself, really kind of paying attention to how we as organizations and we as groups of people can communicate best so we can maximize our productivity, feel good about the work that we're doing, and be collaborative in the process. So with that said, one of the first things we did when we were together last time, I asked you all to think a little bit about your why. I love this quote. Leadership is not about titles, positions, or flowcharts. It's about one life influencing another. When I look at the people sitting around this table tonight, I see a team of leaders. You've made a conscious decision to work collaboratively to influence the community in a positive way. And why do I say that? Well, I'm going to go backwards for a minute. Because one of the things I asked you to do was to talk a little bit about your why. And forgive me, because I came to the table, I'm trying to organize things at the same time I'm talking to you, and I want to make sure, I also can't see what you're projecting. So when I asked you the why, I asked you each to think on your own. We gave you index cards, and I asked you to write down, why is it that you decided to serve on the school committee? And our leaders, school leaders were here as well, and I asked them, why was it that you chose to go into education and to move into an administrative role? And then you passed in those cards to me. So no one worked with anybody else. You all worked independently. We shared a few of those at that time. I've shared that information back with you in the packet that you got in between. But just for the people who are listening at home, if you will, I just want to share just a couple of the ones that came up. And because it was all anonymous, I don't know who said what. So if I pick yours, great. If not, but we heard things like, I like to be part of a team that helps kids. I want to get kids what they need so they are happy and successful. Hoping to create schools that educate the whole child so that the children who learn differently are given opportunities to grow and to learn to love learning. To be an advocate for students and teachers, particularly when they cannot be their own advocates. To provide the best and plentiful opportunities so they can grow to their full potential. To help the Stoughton Public Schools to be the best, a model district, to make an impact on students. Help at this level. A couple more. Want to make meaningful change in my community? I want to make sure my child and all children in Stoughton are learning in a positive and productive environment. Finally, one more I flagged. Provide kids with an opportunity to get a great education and have no limit to what they can accomplish. Now, there were a lot of others that were put on those postcards and given to me, but the theme was the same throughout. Each of you got into your roles, came to the table that you're sitting at now because you care deeply about kids, you want to make a difference in their lives in a positive way, you want to advocate those who don't necessarily have a strong voice on their own, and you want to make the Stoughton Public Schools the best place for all children to learn. That is laudable, and you should all be thanked for your commitment for that. And the reason why I wanted to re-emphasize it is because sometimes the way that I think we should move forward to make the schools the best place possible, and the way you may think that we need to move forward to make the schools the best place possible, isn't exactly the same. That's okay. We come at it with our own perspectives, our own background, our own environments, our own needs, our own expertise. And we bring that to the table. And when we can have a rich, positive discussion about that, that is the best way to get to the best answers, the best solutions to how we move forward. So those discussions are incredibly important, and it's important for us to bring our own perspective to that. But the trick sometimes is that when we bring that passion to the table, sometimes that passion can take over the discussion, and we lose the importance of the discussion to the passion. And that's why it's particularly important when a group of people like yourselves come together to set some norms or ground rules in advance of those discussions to make sure that you can have positive, appropriate discourse and still remember what we're working for. But I think it's so important to continue to emphasize that piece of it. And I ask you, as you're moving forward throughout this year, to always remember that the why that you articulated is the same why that all of your peers at the table articulated as well. You phrase it a little bit differently, but you all said the same thing. So with that said, the other thing that we worked on when we were last together was to start to talk about those norms. So for, again, our viewers at home, basically a list of, I guess, rules would not be the right response, but kind of how we feel we would like to see our organization run. What are the things as we're sitting together at the table that we would like others to be thoughtful about, and we want to be thoughtful about when working with others? And so you each took some time and wrote a few of those norms down again separately, and we brought them back together, and again we saw some significant commonalities between them. I then pulled all of those notes and tried to sift through them and put them together and see if we can organize them, look for some commonality to kind of bring that list smaller. I shared them with you. This particular slide shows not only in orange some of the ones that I would suggest to you should be the primary ones, but some of the smaller norms that you said that I kind of lumped under the bigger one. So there were some subtle differences, but I thought collectively, for example, managing time wisely. Somebody put respect people's time. Someone else said share the conversation, minimize stories and examples. So I kind of pulled those together to make manage time wisely as one of the norms. But there were a few different ones. If we listed them all, you'd have 20, 25 norms. To try to be more concise, we tried to consolidate some of those together, and I wanted you to see what that looked like. And so from that, these were the 12 that I pulled together. And I shared that with you prior to coming in, and I also have that as a document this evening for those who may have not seen it, and we can pass it in both directions. How's that? And so sometimes people just like having a piece of paper in their hands they can look at. Sometimes you want to take notes as well, and so this way you don't have to copy from the screen. And so with that being said, I wanted to take a couple of minutes to have us kind of look at that again. I'm going to just kind of give a quick read of them, but then let's have a conversation about, did I do okay capturing them? Is there anything I missed? Anything that we need to add back in? Anything that we need clarification on? So we have put students first, and I put that one as the first one, because when I came back to the why, that's what you were all talking about. Kids first. That's the most important. So, number one, putting kids first. The others have no particular order. They're just how we summarize things. Assume positive intent. Challenge the issue, not the person. Be respectful. Resolve the issues during the meeting. I personally used to like to say when I was having meetings, let's resolve it here and not in the parking lot. You know, we walk out talking about how your day was. We talk about how your family's doing. We don't talk about the meeting afterwards. We've already resolved it there. Manage time wisely. Speak from one's own perspective. Agree to disagree. Speak with one voice. To clarify that one, that's what I heard a couple of times is once we as a committee have made a decision, whether it was a unanimous vote or not, it now becomes the committee's decision, and therefore we move forward with one voice. Be outcome driven. Celebrate our wins, the district, and each other. And most importantly, have fun. And I say that one, that to me, I think is one of the most important. You are all giving unselfishly of your time to try to make the schools better, to try to make the community a better place. And because of that, you're giving up your evenings, you're giving up time with family, with friends. You should at least be able to enjoy each other's company, have some fun, make the evening, something that you're happy about afterwards. So from all of the different Post-its and things that we had together, this is what I kind of boiled it down. I'm going to stop talking for a moment and ask you to start maybe sharing your thoughts about that list. You had a chance to see it in advance. You're seeing it now.
I just have a quick comment. So on our list, we also have be prepared, but it's not up there.
I sincerely apologize if I missed one. Oh, my goodness. All right.
I'll be clear if that's one we're gonna have on.
Absolutely.
So you're saying we have a baker's dozen, is that?
Yes.
It's because we're so fiscally conservative, we're able to get 13 out of 12.
We had it like number 6, because we're being managed time wisely, and we're prepared with
Yeah.
managing time
Yeah.
wisely.
So it's just,
Sub-bullet for that?
yeah, should we just cross out be prepared if we're managing our time wisely?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So there you go, you don't have to add one in.
Okay.
We'll cross it out.
Slide is good.
There were a number of iterations of this, pulling it together. Again, at one point I had a Post-it note stuck on my arm. I tried to peel them off. So I apologize if I didn't quite get that, but thank you. Other thoughts?
I'll share a perspective that I gained just yesterday from my day job. A leader in our organization talked about organizational norms, and one of the ones that she talked about was no verbal weapons. And she said, in a school, we don't bring weapons into school. And so words that you intentionally say to hurt other people is a verbal weapon. And I really liked that framing. I don't know that I would put that on a norm sheet in a school setting, that could, but we have several different bullets that speak to that. So, I really liked where we landed there. I also wanted to comment that the sub-bullets might make for good definitions, because I think we should have a definition or a description after each one, because what, challenging the issue may look like to me may not be how Armando interprets it.
I think for clarity purposes, and to be able to continue to articulate your norms, you want to keep them as simple as possible, like the bullets you have here. That's why you're having the discussion now, because these are your norms. While you're sharing them out to the community, they are still yours. So if you have that shared understanding, then I think that that's important. I wouldn't list those sub-bullets on any other document as a suggestion, but that's why I gave them to you first, because I wanted you to know that you actually, there were even more than that, but I was able to kind of pull those in, and I wanted you to see where they kind of fit in, and that if one of the things that was on this final bullet was something you said and it wasn't there, I wanted you to realize that that's why I pulled it in, because I thought it fit under this other category, and nothing was forgotten. Are there some of them that we feel like you would like to articulate out loud? I did a couple of them.
I'm sorry, can you rephrase your direction?
Sure, I'm sorry. I said, are there any that we'd like to take a little bit of time to articulate? To say, yes, this is, I agree with this bullet, but maybe we should out loud talk about what that looks like. Make sure that we have a common understanding of it. Like, for example, that speak with one voice. I think to perhaps an outsider, they might not be as clear about speak with one voice. That's why for that one, when I read it out loud, recognizing that there are people who are perhaps watching this meeting, that they would understand what that one that meant. Speak from with one's own perspective, I think, is another example of one that you might want to articulate a little bit. It recognizes that sometimes, and I'll put myself in the first person here. Sometimes I feel like when I'm speaking, I will say, we all feel, or, everyone understands, or everyone knows. Because collectively, we've had a conversation with a couple of other people, and so we feel like we can then talk about something as if we're talking on behalf of a group. But in reality, when you're here at the table, you're an individual member. And so I think the consensus was when you're speaking from one's own perspective, you're coming from that. You're not speaking collectively unless you're asked to read a letter from someone else that is articulating something.
If I can just add something real quick before Armando, I love that, and I think that's one of the reasons why we have representatives, like when representatives from administration, department heads come in, when the student rep comes in, that is a way for us to invite those perspectives in, rather than making assumptions based on the 2 kids I had in my household, for example. So, yeah, I appreciate that. Armando?
Sure. This is off the cuff, and I just thought about this. But one of the challenges I've always had in the school committee is the open meeting laws. I'd love to be able to take everyone in the committee and say, hey, let's go to Dunkin' Donuts for coffee. It's on me, donuts and coffee. But I can't.
But you could do that with me.
Good point.
Okay, and I love coffee.
And I can communicate with one person, but then if one other person, then I can't have that same communication with another person, because then that would be an open meeting law violation. And that to me is frustrating, because sometimes I feel we're doing our work with our hands tied behind our back.
That's you. I agree completely. It does tie your hands to some degree by bringing a majority together and having a casual conversation. Somehow you now have that quorum, if you will. That is tricky. It's a tricky thing to navigate. But that's what happens when you come to serve on a committee like this. I don't know a good way around that one for you. No. Yeah, it is a challenge. Well then, other than a couple of those comments, I'm hearing kind of a silence, and so I'm going to take that as a positive. What I would suggest to you is that at some point, you make this an action item and officially adopt them. Because in other situations, when we're casually working together one time and I had my admin team working in the office with me, or I was, facilitating a curriculum revision group, we would set those norms and we would just remind ourselves of them. But because you're an elected body and because you're going to try to implement them in your meetings, when you take a vote on them, then you're basically saying, I agree with them at that point. So again, that's a suggestion, but that's entirely up to you as far as policy and procedure goes. Well, what I would ask now is, how are you going to institutionalize them? You set them. What happens next?
It's a great question. I know one thing that we have discussed is maybe reading them at the beginning of every meeting, just to remind ourselves and ground ourselves in those norms before we proceed. Probably, I imagine, having them in writing, maybe another QR code so that we can easily, or the public can easily access them on the agendas. But I'm open to other thoughts from the committee members.
I think you read my mind. I was actually thinking of if there's space in the agenda, we just list them at the bottom. If there's space on the agenda, we could go a few pages. But I love the idea of being able to quickly reference them. And I think all of us need it every once in a while if we go through them. Now, my mind is set for me.
Right.
Good point.
Jillian?
I wouldn't be opposed to just having it up on the wall somewhere.
Yep.
Yeah. If you've got a meeting space where you always meet, having them posted is a great way of reminding people of them. Because then it's not just all of you, but it's maybe any guests that come in as well. Posting them is great.
That's a good point. I'd love to see it above the door so we can't enter the room without seeing it.
I like that. Other thoughts?
I guess one of the comments I would have around the idea of institutionalizing the norms would be, how does the committee decide to handle or deal with situations where the norms aren't being agreed to? Who takes that lead, if you will? Is it the chair? Is it the vice chair? Is it just a member? Typically, it wouldn't be the superintendent because it's your meeting.
Would be a point of order type of?
I think so. I mean, that's the way I've seen it in the past, is that it's reflective that, okay, this is going in a direction where our norms are not being met, so therefore, point of order, let's recollect ourselves here, or even take a break if needed, and then come back to the discussion and the disagreement or the debate, I guess I would say. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to set the stage for your staff, all your employees, and your students that coming together to create what you expect is not going to be carried out. Because then, in my opinion, that's not a good practice, and that's not the model that I think we all want to have. And again, when the meeting starts, that includes that I'm part of that meeting, so therefore administrators are, so therefore we're part of those norms ourselves.
That's exactly where I was going to go next. Is once you're talking about things like putting it on your agenda, posting it in the room, the question then becomes, how do we actually hold each other accountable for those norms? It becomes tricky, but I actually like having the norms as far as holding each other accountable, because I think it actually makes it easier to talk about the norms rather than to collectively say, I'm feeling uncomfortable about the conversation I might be having. So I think sometimes we just simply stop and say, I'm uncomfortable with where this conversation is going. Can we take a moment to reflect on the norms that we've set? And sometimes it's just a pause, sometimes a break. Can we take a 5-minute break? Everyone take a moment to review the norms, and let's come back together and continue this conversation. But again, you'll have to decide how best your structure works with this. But I think if you have norms and you're all being asked to follow them, the ability to be able to speak up and say, point of order, can I just ask that we take a moment to take a breather and reflect on the norms before we continue this conversation, might be an appropriate thing for the board to look at. But again, I think that that's what you have to decide every committee, every organization is different when they have norms, but I think that would be my suggestion to you.
I think the fact that if we all agree on the norms, then we should be self-regulating, I guess. We just have to remind ourselves of the norms occasionally. But if we agree with it, this shouldn't be an issue.
Fantastic. Other people? Are people feeling good about this? Is there something more that I need to help you with, particularly on the norms piece of it? Is there anything further that you had hoped would come out of the norms conversation? We have other important things to work on, but from the specific list of the 12 norms, I'm going in the wrong direction here. There we go. Back to that. Are people comfortable with those, comfortable with the idea that you'd like to have them posted in your room, in your meeting room, and that you'll refer to them? I would suggest initially that at some point, maybe at the start of each meeting, you might remind by reading them. My next question would be for you, will you remind before public comment? Is that something you want to do? You can't hold people who come in public comment. I mean, they have the right to have their public comment. But I think that when you're modeling that you're following the norms, just reminding that, we are an organization that's committed to trying to work respectfully with each other for the good of for the children of Stoughton. Therefore, we as a group are going to follow these norms. We ask any of our visitors when they are engaged, whether they're making a presentation like I am tonight, or you're coming to a public comment, that you are also cognizant that we have these norms and do your best to try to honor them as well.
One clarification, just for the, if I may, Madam Chair, through you to Paul. So we see norms established by school committees, regardless if it's 12 or 5 or 50. It's the decision of the committee, which is great. The committee should consider, based on some of the ideas that it's already thrown out, it should really consider, I think, at least in the beginning, utilizing your norms at the beginning of your meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think the idea is to set the stage for debate and discussion, to be disagreeable, but do it within the means of getting the work done. That's one. The second one is, I can see this becoming a great art exercise for students in our schools to put together a design for us on what this would look like.
Same.
So,
The elementary kids would do a great job.
so if you
I just
look at-
pulled your logo and stuck it everywhere on the slides that I created for you.
So
But
you could take, on behalf of the school committee, something like this, and once you have if this is the final ones, and not necessarily number them, except maybe, I can see put students first in the middle, if you will, and then everything else surrounding it, whatever. I'm not an artist at all. I have no artistic ability. But setting the stage for having a little competition with the kids and allowing them to be part of a design phase, and I'm sure we could work that out with our art department. And I would do it, again, you could talk to a kindergarten and say, what does this mean to you, by giving them words, and the stick figures could be the best thing that we've seen, right? I mean, if you ever see the stick figure of a family on the back of a car, every time I see that one, I say, why didn't I create that? I probably would have already retired. But it's that simplicity that gives it so much emphasis, that makes it real, and you can carry it out. So I see that as something that we could absolutely move forward with students. It may take a little longer to get something done, but that doesn't mean that the norms aren't still being followed.
I was thinking we could start with a simple poster of just like, 124 size font, and just put it up until we have something specifically from the students to give them time to do something they feel proud of and would want to share with us. I also think it's a great way to reinforce a lot of the character education that's happening within the schools as well, and it might be a great way to kind of open the conversation to new norms that they may not be familiar with.
a couple of other reminders. You have subcommittee meetings. The norms are the norms, right? So let's not forget those when we have subcommittee meetings. And like I said, start each meeting with them for the beginning, You may then just be able to refer to them or just have them, but, until people get comfortable with them, I think it's a great way of starting your meeting out. There were a number of tasks that I wanted to work with you on as far as building that collaboration and such. At one point, when I was kind of processing with you about things that we could be working on, one of them was around the protocols that MASC has. It's dense information, and I'm prepared to do that tonight, but I'm also looking at the time. And what I think I would rather do is leave you with a couple of handouts on that, and have you thoughtful about that. If you want me to come back, I'd be glad to come back one more time and facilitate that with you. But MASC put out a number of guiding beliefs and protocols that they talk about on how school committees can organize themselves. I actually have the next slides, have 26 of them. And what I've gone through is I listed them, and then I went through and I actually, after the ones that I think you've captured within your norms, I put what norm number I think would, if you look at the slides, see the ones in orange are ones that I think you've captured in your norms. I mean, I did a lot to put through this, but I think that to work through these, there are a lot of them, as you can see as I'm clicking through, that would take a lot of time for you to be working either in pairs or independently. What I would have you do is kind of go through these and see what each one means. You can see there's a lot of dense reading. And for the sake of tonight, I think it's too much time with a short period of time for you to work on that dense reading and not have the benefit of the facilitator with you. So I'm going to move through those, but I'm going to leave a handout or two that has them all listed. I'm going to suggest that at some point you think about, do you want to adopt these as protocols? They're not policies of the school committee. It's simply, this is how we see our meetings running, okay? And that would be something for you. And as I said, I'd be happy to come back and facilitate that in a workshop form for you, or something you can work on independently. Instead, what I want to do is to talk about the mission. The mission of the district, and in fact, your mission as a school committee. So I pulled this from your website. I hope I've captured it right. On your site, you say that our mission is to challenge individuals to reach their potential in an educational environment that promotes excellence. Then you go on further, and this almost feels like the vision of the district, although it doesn't specifically say the vision. It says the Stoughton Public Schools honors excellence, celebrates its diversity, and challenges its members to realize their potential. We set high standards using innovative and inclusive programs that enable students of varying learning styles to achieve success. That's great. You've got it on your website. I hope it's something that you articulate often so that all of your stakeholders know that this is who you are as a school community. When you're sending out correspondence and you're talking about, the education that you provide, making reference to your mission and making reference to this vision of who you are is excellent. When you're working as a school committee, recognizing this is really important. Can your staff articulate this? Can you articulate this? Is this something new for all of you seeing tonight? Or is this something that you talk about frequently as you're making your decisions? Those are things that I think we want to be focusing on a little bit. And in addition to that, you also listed your guiding beliefs. These are also articulated on your website. Education is a lifelong process. All students can learn. Students have various learning styles. There are 11 of them. I won't read them all to you. What instead I'm going to do is send them around, and it's also up on the screen. I have them down. Do I have them here, or do I have them on the screen only? I think those are, I'm sorry, just on the screen. But let's take a moment and look at those. And what I want you to do is to think for a moment which ones resonate most to you. I would assume that you believe in all of them, since it's your district's guiding beliefs, but I'd like you to take a moment and reflect as you read them and say, if I could only choose 3, which 3 would I choose? In a moment, I'm going to ask you which three you chose. So if you have to write the numbers down, if you're taking notes, I'm just going to go around to each of you. And again, some of you I met before, some of I haven't, so if you would just, we'll go around with everybody and just say who you are, your name, and which three you chose.
Jillian, I chose 4, 5, and 6.
Would you read them?
Yeah, sure. 4, education is a partnership among schools, student, family, and the community. Ethical behavior is taught by example. Respect for the fundamental dignity of the individual is essential to learning.
Thank you, Jillian. Armando.
Armando, and I chose 2, 4, and 6. And should I read them?
Please.
All students can learn. That's number 2.
Mhm.
Number 4, education is a partnership among school, students, family, and the community. And 6, respect for the fundamental dignity of the individual is essential to learn.
Thank you. Chris.
Chris Shannon, 246. All students can learn. Education is a partnership among school, student, family, and the community. Respect is the fundamental, respect for the fundamental dignity of the individual is essential to learning.
Excellent. Dr. Bayetta, did you pick some too? Do you want to share?
I did.
Good.
I had 248. All students can learn. I could probably say that, beat that around a lot. 4, education is partnership among school, student, family, and the community. And 8, a safe and clean environment is conducive to learning.
Is it Karen?
No, it's Mrs. Powers. And I choose all of them because they're all our guiding beliefs. So I choose all 11.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, it's Jennifer. I did 1, 4, and 6. So education is a lifelong learning process. Education is a partnership among schools, students, family, and the community. And respect for the fundamental dignity of the individual is essential to learning.
Great. Thank you, Jennifer.
Julie Miller. I picked 246. All students can learn. Education is a partnership among school, student, family, and the community, and respect for the fundamental dignity of the individual is essential to learning.
Fantastic. Thank you. Anyone else sitting at the table? Were you able to look backwards and see?
Honestly, all of them.
Yeah. I know it's hard, and I asked you to make a choice, and it wasn't that we're prioritizing any of them, and it wasn't that they're not all important. It's that I wanted us to actually articulate a couple of them together. Because now what I wanted to ask is, if you picked particular ones, what particularly resonated with you about that one? So while they're all important, they're all your beliefs, you took a moment to look at certain ones, and certain ones resonated with you. I'd give you an example. For me, all students can learn was one, as Dr. Bayetta said. Remember, my background is special education. And so I spent a lot of my time working to make sure that students that sometimes people believed were not as capable and maybe needed to learn in a different way, making sure that we maximize their opportunities as well. So that was something that was a particular passion for me. And of course, being a superintendent, knowing that the educational leader, if you will, was important. So just curious, when you chose a particular one, why did that one particularly resonate with you, that you felt that that was one that you wanted to share? Anyone want to be brave and let's give an example?
I thought number 1, education is a lifelong process. Well, right now, I feel like we're learning. I feel like you never stop learning, and it's something that needs to continue through your whole life. It's not just K to 12 or even to college or beyond. It should be every day you should learn something new.
Fantastic. Thank you. I like that.
Thank you, Dorothy.
I love education as a partnership among schools, students, family, and the community, because I really believe that's the way you educate any child. You don't send them to school and many years later you hope they're done. It's family involvement, it's community involvement, the person, the child, the student's going to live in the community and will have most likely a family sometime. So the educational process is all encompassing, not just send my child to school and 12 years, they're all set.
I appreciate that. Yeah. One of the things I always said was that our families are our first teachers. Long before our children get to school, how much have they learned at home? And they continue to be teachers. And I also, though, joked that my children needed to be returned to the hospital where they came from because they didn't come in a complete package. There were no instruction books that came with them. And so sometimes I was, even as educators, my wife and I were pulling our hair out sometimes. And so I think that while we are also our children's first teachers, we're also looking with the schools as well as partners to help us, to help those children learn and grow. So I love that idea or that partnership. That's great, Rhonda. Thank you for sharing that. Jillian.
First I was going to say number 4, but Armando got me, so I'm going to go to my other one, was ethical behaviors taught by example. I think it really reminded me that, how we talk with each other, how we talk with children, how we conduct ourselves, we're all constantly learning from that, and we mirror those behaviors. So I was keeping that in mind, when we're speaking, to always have that background.
Fantastic. Thank you. Anybody else feel like they would like to share? Okay. So, if we've just talked about the mission of the district and our vision and our guiding beliefs, that's the broader vision, the mission. You, as a school committee, have a charge as well. So I often say, if mini missions move the major mission, what's your mini mission? So you have the district-wide mission, which we shared. Again, our mission is to challenge individuals to reach their potential in an educational environment that promotes excellence. That's your mission. You have it posted. You own that. As a school committee, what's the mission of the school committee that helps the district meet its mission? And I suspect that may not be something that you've had the opportunity to articulate yet. But it's one of the things I'd ask you to think about right now. So I'm looking at copies. I'm going to ask to make sure that the school committee members get theirs first. And you get a nice good cut stock here. We'll pass it in each direction. Because anyone can write, can write some notes down, pass in the other direction as well. But the reason why that paper is important is because it has that mission and vision for you right on the page. Okay. What I'd like you to do is to jot down for a moment what you think would be. Yeah. Do we have? Okay. Good. Yeah. Tried to anticipate the right number here, but I realized I had 8, and I want to make sure that we got them out. So. Think for a moment, and we're going to see if we can craft, before I leave tonight, to see if we can craft the Stoughton School Committee mission. So I would see it something like, the mission of the Stoughton School Committee is to, or is, and let's think about what you're charged with. Go back and thinking about your why. Think about the guiding beliefs that the school district has. Think about the mission of the school. What's the role of the school committee to help to get to that mission? Remembering that missions are a summary, so they're short and they state the purpose succinctly. It's the kind of thing that often talk about business and elevator pitch. Right? If you were in an elevator and someone asked you, like, tell me about the product you sell or the service you provide, what would that sound like? Your mission is a crisp, succinct sentence that says, this is what you stand for, this is what your purpose is. My teacher hat, and we used to look around the room and we gave a task to students and see how many people are still writing, who's looking up and put their pen down, to kind of get an idea of when people are done. We're just scribbling some thoughts now. I'm hoping that by the time that we're done, we can either craft something together or I can pull the documents you have together and articulate something for you. But we'll see what the commonality, if there's commonality or if there's discussion that we need to have about this. If you feel like you need one more minute, give me one finger up to tell me you want one more minute. If you feel like you're okay for us to move forward. All right, I'm not seeing any one fingers, so that's great. We started by going around this way this time. Maybe we can go around this way, and we'll ask the committee members to share what you put down.
Okay. The mission of the Stoughton School Committee is to make sure we are educating the whole child. We are creating policies and innovations that help all children to be successful. We're creating a clear path, partnership between the child, the school, and the community.
Nice. Have you done this before?
No.
It's great. Thank you. Mrs. Powers, is that, do I have a, I can't see your name, so I apologize. Thank you very much.
To not use OPM frivolously, other people's money.
So the purpose of the Stoughton School Committee is to not use other people's money?
That's one of them.
Okay, very
That's
good.
actually one of the three that we're here for.
Okay, great, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Chris?
Mine is super boring, so I can't match the brevity or elegance of the other ones, but I said to provide the district leadership, resources, and policies needed to support an educational environment that challenges individuals and promotes excellence.
Great. These are all excellent.
Mine's a little bit all over the place.
Of course they are. You had like literally 1 minute to craft your thoughts onto paper. We would expect it to be all over the place.
My mini mission is, what she said a little bit, is to provide the resources, for example, outstanding superintendents for the schools, make sure that they remember their overall aspect is concentrated on the students and what we do. This will actually focus all the resources, effort efficiently into this, into educating the students.
Fantastic.
That's together really well. I know. I was thinking of like the three purviews of the school committee.
Mhm.
It's policy, budget, and the superintendent. So I want to, our goal would like around to be support the students, teachers, administrators, and families of Stoughton through policy that's thoughtful, clear, and inclusive, through setting a budget that's financially responsible while supporting our education goals, and holding our superintendent accountable and supporting them with the policy and budget.
That's great.
Yeah. Are we hearing some commonalities here? I think one that I heard consistently all the way through was around budget, responsible budget policy was the idea of that, who is this all for? The students? You all, in a different way, tied back this idea of what is the school committee's purview and what is not. It's around budget, it's around policy, and it's around supervision and oversight of the superintendent, who then has the responsibility of the oversight of the district. You pulled those things in. You each phrased it differently, but you pulled those things in. I think for the interest of time, rather than us wordsmithing back and forth. So if I were doing strategic planning with you, one of the things we would start with was the vision and the mission and making sure that we're clear on those. We would put that up there. I would be up there with markers and chop paper and moving this word around and wordsmithing that and trying to rearrange that again. Because of the structure of the room, the fact that we have a limited amount of time, I won't do that with you tonight, but what I would ask is that if you share those with me, what I will do is, again, try to pull those commonalities like I did with the norms, and maybe give you a couple of, maybe we can even keep them exactly as they are, I can put them on one page, or I can give you a couple of examples of how we pull them together if there's any one of them that's kind of missing something else. And then you can have that conversation as a committee to maximize time without me, or bring me back again, and we can kind of fix that, together and get to a final mission. But I think as important as the norms are, it's important to consistently revisit our mission. It's the why. And so when I come back to that conversation about, it's a difficult evening because we all care about children, and we have some conversation we need to have about what's next for them. When we're clear about what our mission is, it allows us to focus on the things that we are responsible for, not kind of go off on the things that we're not responsible for, and to always remind ourselves of what's important. So I will make sure, actually, you can just kind of pass them this way if you're comfortable with that. And like I said, I'll work on that for you as a follow-up to this particular meeting tonight.
But quite frankly, I
What is your?
I feel that Jillian took mine and made it beautiful, so yeah, I agree.
Take, yeah, like merge.
Yeah, seriously.
Just throw that to ChatGPT.
I work for a communication company. We don't throw that to ChatGPT. You get first-person quality stuff here, okay? Hey. Great. So, with that said, I want to talk a little bit about your district's goals. When I went onto your website, I found that you had a strategic plan. I printed it out, and I'm going to, this one I pass out to you again. I apologize. One of the things that is easiest for me is when I get someplace early, and you can attest that I am, and then I have spread out, and I have what I have to pass out next and what I'm going to do. But having coming from the visitors row right in and start talking as I'm doing that, I feel like I may present as a little bit disjointed, but I'm not. We have a purpose here. So here, I've just put down your overall goals. You have a strategic plan that has not just the goals, you can take one here too if you want. You have the action steps that go along with it, with timelines. You have a strategic plan that guides the district. What is the strategic plan doing? It's helping you to meet your mission. It's helping you to get to the vision of your school system. This is not what I wrote. This is what you wrote. You have 4 of them. I can pull them. I have them in slide format if we need to reflect them and shine them up on the screen. But I also know that they're pretty dense, and I can only get 1 per slide so that you could actually read them. So giving them to you would then allow you to be able to have them in front of you. But the district then has goals that they want to accomplish. My question for you as a school committee is, what then are your goals? Is that one yours or is that an extra? Because I gave mine away, so you're perfect. Thank you. All right. So you've got them here, 4 goals. So your first one is to strengthen the instructional culture by fully integrating a district-wide instructional coach model. I mean, it's quite a long goal about how that's going to work. Your second one is you will create and fully implement the vision of a graduate framework. So around NEASC expectations. And I do love that frame, the idea of the ultimate goal is to help all of our students to obtain their diploma, to have met the standards that we've set forth for them to graduate. So what does that actually look like? And I think it's a great discussion to have with all grade levels. This is ultimately where we're going to get. What does that look like all the way around? So I love that that's one of the goals that you've articulated. In order to meet the needs of the English language learners, to fulfill compliance with DESE regulations and to look Act of 2017, and to ensure best educational outcomes for ELs, as we say it, the following action plan will be implemented. So you have an action plan around your second language learners, is goal 3. And then goal 4 is around creating a 5-team chairperson position to facilitate special education team meetings. So your broad strategic plan had those 4 goals as the areas that you wanted to focus on over the next couple of years. So as a district, that's what you have set as your priorities to move the mission forward. Right, if we go back to that mission of, is to challenge individuals to reach their potential in an educational environment that promotes excellence. So you're challenging the individual's potential for education, to reach their potential in an environment that promotes excellence. So if that's what the outcome is, and these 4 goals are what you have as a district established to say, our next steps to follow that mission are to work on these goals. If we obtain these goals, we're going to be closer to getting all of our students to reach their educational potential, and we'll be promoting excellence. Those are lofty goals. Kudos for you to taking them on. As the school committee, what are your goals to help the district to meet those goals? So what's your part in all of this? I see a couple of you writing. You don't necessarily have to in this particular case. I was going to ask for some broad conversation first, but if the people are starting to write, that's okay too. If you want to put a couple of notes down first, and then we can articulate it.
I'm just wrapping my brain around this last goal.
I saw a couple of people writing, so I was giving a moment, but Armand, if you've got it, please share.
One that I think is, it's not one of our 3 things that we do, but one of the things I really love the school committee to do more of is just to make sure that these goals are on track and they're going to be reached. At times, we have superintendents change in the years, but often in management, you go from one to another. Often they're becoming new ideas and new approaches and new direction. And that's not always a good thing. And I think the school committee can commit towards, this is our vision, and we'll make sure each and every superintendent perceives that vision. Of course, there may be changes along the way, but essentially it's to maintain high standards and not to go in a different path from year to year. I think the school committee should really take on that role.
I think in the broader sense, with the roles that you take on, if the district is committed to working on these goals, getting a periodic report on where the district is on those goals. Again, I work in a variety of districts, and every district handles things slightly different, and I know how I handled things when I was in leadership roles. But when you create a strategic plan, you tend to take at some point during the year where you look at where you are, you look at what you've accomplished, and you look at where you're going next. So I'm going to assume that at some points in this process, and I'm looking to your superintendent-elect, that's something that you do periodically. You adjust the action steps. We've accomplished these, and based on that, we probably need to add these action steps. These action steps made sense when we wrote it 10 months ago, but now that these other things have happened, this action step no longer makes sense, so let's tweak it this way. You revise the plan accordingly. And so a periodic reporting of these are our 4 goals, and these are the action steps, and this is where we are and where we're going next. Putting out, yes. Jennifer?
I think for most of these to work, we need money, and I think that's important. As a school committee, we need to figure out how we're gonna get these things funded, and are we able to get them funded, because if we don't, a lot of these won't make it. They won't be good steps if we don't have the money to fund them.
Exactly. That's what, when I see school committees setting goals, one of the ones that I see them frequently setting is that they will work with the administration to create a fiscally responsible budget that will help to move the goals of the strategic plan forward. Something to that effect. I was just kind of throwing a phrase out there, but that idea of by working to secure the budget that's appropriate to help the strategic plan happen.
So one of my comments I had, like, I always just keep the purview of what we're responsible for, policy, budget, superintendent. So when we're crafting policy and passing policy, keeping in mind, our coaching goals, our framework of a graduate, like what does a graduate look like, and make sure that all of those things are incorporated in those policies, they match up with what our overall goal is. To make sure that we have budget carve-outs for, the staffing requirements that we need to get these goals to be passed. And also just, kind of like what Armando was saying, hold the superintendent accountable to make sure we're following up on the goals and that, they're being met, because that's also our responsibility.
Go ahead, Chris.
Point of clarification. So I believe these came from the triennial plan, correct?
Yes, I'm sorry, I'm calling it a strategic plan, it was a triennial plan, yeah.
Right.
I pulled it from the.
And they're not developed with the school committee. That is something that's a process that the superintendent does with his leadership and their teams to figure out, what they want to do to move toward broader goals. So the question is, by default, these are our goals, but they're not. Right?
Well, I guess I would say,
Can you connect the dots for me?
sure. So if the administration has articulated that these are the areas that they feel that they want to focus on to move the mission forward, then that's what they're committed to help you with the overall mission. Coming back to what Jillian said about budget and policy and oversight, that's where you come in as a committee to help move that forward. Now, if in fact that is not the direction that needs to happen to move forward, that's a conversation that you have together. But coming back to what Jillian said, the areas of oversight, your administrators who know the district, who are working in the district, have said that to move the district forward, these are the areas that they feel should be the areas of focus. Come on.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I pushed, one of the plans, was to have the children, the reading rate, the percentage of children that could read before third grade. I don't remember the details.
By the end of third grade.
But as a school committee, I believe we can push those areas, and we say that standard is not high enough. Let's move them up. And that's why it was agreeable and it was moved up. And we can do that. I believe any plan that the administration puts out, you look at them as detailed as I do, and then pick out what we feel we could do a better job and suggest that. And like Viola is always willing to take a look and move forward. So that's where I think we make the biggest influence.
So back to the definition of leadership, it's the influencing piece. So I appreciate that. Thank you for that. I wonder, Paul, and feel free to shoot this down, but I wonder if I know in our policies, we're supposed to have annual goals, and we're supposed to assess, and for the school committee, and then, twice a year, take a look at how are we doing in terms of reaching those particular goals. So does it make sense for a school committee to have discrete goals from those that are more on the instruction curriculum operations side of the house?
So let me actually step back and ask, does the school committee have articulated goals?
No.
Okay. So that's where I was starting from.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't find anything as I
Yep.
did the research.
Yep.
These are things, once you've, move forward, you can put on your website. You can put, under the tab for school committee where it has your names and your terms that you're serving and your next agenda, you can have the norms of the school committee on there. You can have the mission of the school committee. That will help kind of articulate, and then you can put your goals there. And so, for a starting point for you to help you with those goals, because that was the initial conversation about bringing someone on board, was that you were doing this kind of thoughtful reflection on, are we working on our goals, but you need them
Right.
to be able to reflect on whether you're working on them or not.
Right.
So, but I think first, you start with your norms, then you go to, this is what our mission is, and so now, if our mission is to help move the big mission forward, what do the goals look like to help us do that? So, it all kinds of ties together, and I'm not sure if I completely answered your question, Chris, and if I didn't, rephrase it again for me so that I make sure that I do a better job of it.
Should we think about setting our own annual goals?
Exactly. That's what I was working with
Gotcha.
tonight.
Okay.
Again, I wasn't sure how far we would get. I wasn't sure where we were going to go, how long each of these conversations would take for us, but my hope was that we would at least entertain the idea of that goal. So we've had a little bit of a conversation on that. I can then, again, help based on what I heard. I really heard the articulation from, again, Jennifer and from Jillian around that piece, and then you were talking the same way around, your purposes as a school committee. We can put some broad goals about that. One around a fiscally responsible budget, one around supervision of the administration as they're moving the strategic plan forward, and one around perhaps, that idea of creating policies that are aligned with the district's vision and mission and help move that forward.
Knocked it out of the ballpark that
Okay, thank you. Are people good with that next step? As I said, I wish in another format where we were together, I would like us to break into groups, have you do the wordsmithing on that. But because of the short amount of time we have, and you have a meeting this evening, and at this point, I've been scheduled to have 2 meetings with you. The first one we did with the norms, and then this one, and then to have a follow-up kind of conversation with each of you. But beyond that, I don't have anything further. I wanted to try to get as much done with you as possible, and I'll try to follow up. As I said, you'll have those things to discuss independently, or as I said, if it would be helpful to have me come back again and facilitate those next discussions about, this is the mission as I heard you say it, so these are some suggestions. These are the goals as I heard you say it, and have some more conversation. We'll go from there.
We still have the challenge of being able to put this together, because the open meeting laws.
Mm-hmm.
The only way we can actually collaborate and put this together is to be in a meeting like this.
Yes. So,
It's-
when I say put you in groups, I would have, I
About
meant,
time.
we would have brought you back together again. I'm not sure I was clear about that. So like, if, in another format, I would say, okay, how about 3 of you work together and let's see, you talk about what you think this goal looks like, and let's look at some language about that, and we'll come back together and process that out. It would be much more interactive with you having conversation. But because of the time that we had, I tried to kind of move the needle along to get as many of those things that you were hoping to have accomplished. I hope that was the right direction to take that with. Yeah,
So
that's it.
3 of us can't get together and do this aside. We have to be on mic
Mm-hmm.
and on television, public meeting and all that.
Well, if I give you a framework, then you're going to come back together and you can all do it together, right? You'd have the final, and you just look at this and say, based on what Paul has submitted to us, this is the suggestion. I like what he said here. Could we change this word there? Could we add this little phrase here? And then you can move forward with it from there. Or you could create a subcommittee. I mean, that would be up to you.
So just as a clarification, we can, the committee can publicly post a meeting, that you're going to have a working meeting for the purposes of working on goals. Cable is notified, Town Hall is notified, anybody can come if they want, but it's literally your meeting for the purposes of that and being led. We kind of did a little bit of that already at our first meeting, because if you recall, we had no other action items. It was just the introduction of norms that we did. Clearly, this room is tough for that, because it doesn't allow for us to break out, if you will, the way that we would have to within a public. So I know, for example, just a few years ago, Tom Coulter did it with the town side, with all of his departments, and if I recall, I think it was a Saturday. And it was published and it was recorded, and they were in round tables, and they had breakouts in the room, everything's still there, elected officials and otherwise. I think he did it with all of his staff. But we can set that up. It's, Cable can always come and record it instead of having it live, like they do anytime we're at the high school for something. So it's just a matter of posting it, what's the agenda, have your facilitator go through the process, have a resolution of what you want it to look like.
Okay, let's do it.
Based on the time that you had asked me to spend with you this evening, I want to kind of move to wrap things up. Two things I want to do. One, I talked about the protocol and beliefs. So as I said, I've got them, rather than staple them, because I initially thought if we were going to do some work on them this evening, because it's 2 pages, I wanted you to be able to manipulate the 2 pages rather than constantly folding over with a staple. So I apologize if the paper clips make it a little bit awkward, but we've got those here that you can pass out and have. So as I said, I captured those for you to look at. And again, we can, if you'd like, come back and do that. The other thing I just wanted to share with you before you go, because you started this conversation with norms and about the work that you do. And I think it's just as important to recognize that when we work collaboratively, and sometimes things get passionate, we can move from the professional to the personal. And so I thought I would share this with you because it's one of the slides I like to use when I have conversations with people around about having uncomfortable conversations, is that while it's sometimes difficult to take things personally, and we can try to step back a little bit, sometimes it helps in the process. The slide is entitled "How to Stop Taking Things Personally." I'm happy to talk about these. I wish I could actually incorporate them into my own personality, because I find it much easier to tell you how to do this than it is for me to say this is how I do it myself. But I think a few of these I think are really important. I like number 5 personally. Realize that you can't please everyone. I have to confess, as a school superintendent, that one became painfully clear for me when we were through the pandemic. People were very passionate, people were scared, people were worried about their families, and they had different opinions as to what happened next. And I had to make difficult decisions, and people were passionate when they didn't see the decision going in the direction that they wanted it in. And I had to realize that I had to do the best I could for the district and not take it personally. I think that if you can come back and remember what your mission is here as a committee, and you refer back to your norms and you continue to work within those norms, remind yourself that sometimes people are coming from a different direction, but their why is just like your why. It's about what's best for kids, it's about supporting your community and about supporting your schools. And we come from that perspective, it can help us to try to navigate some of those conversations that are getting a little bit more passionate and a little bit harder to see clearly through. I also think it's important to know that you're not defined by your mistakes or your criticisms. Everyone makes them. I like to tell my kids, everyone but me, but they like to tell me I am the main one who makes them. For those of you who have adult kids, it's even a more fun level when they come back. We all make mistakes. Sometimes it's just the best way is to own that perhaps I could have done something differently. How can we move forward with it? I don't think blame is ever the best way to move forward. I think we just accept the fact that this is what has happened. This is where we're at now. Where do we want to be and how do we get there? So accept that we're in a place that we don't want to be in. Where do we want to get to next? So again, there are 7 of them up there. To read them all to you, I don't want to do that for you, but I'll give you a second to reflect on them. If there's anyone that resonates with you that you'd like to kind of comment on, those are 2 that I feel, I had to hold on to the most.
And we'll have a copy of this, right?
I will get you a copy of the slides that we had this evening, absolutely, so that you'll have them. I would ask, though, that you keep them with you, because as you know, we do these workshops in other locations for other districts. We would rather not have the slides shared externally, not because there's anything confidential in them, but simply because we use them for other sites. With that said, is there anything else for the good of the order from my perspective? My action steps are, I'm going to work on giving you some sample mission statements based on what you told me, and give you a couple of kind of simple goals that you might want to then work on. And as I said, from there, you can decide if that's something you feel comfortable working on independently, or if at some point you'd like to have me come back and help facilitate. Either way is fine. We'll give you hopefully what you need. So that's what we'll do next, and I will share the slides with you as well.
Perfect, Paul.
That's
Thank
it.
you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Excellent presentation, by the way.
That is not usually one of my fortes. I have to be honest with you on that.
So just to give us time to kind of think and process, I would like to respectfully ask that we move the vote to the next meeting, and we can further discuss, and once again, once you have a chance to reflect, we can discuss, finalize, and then vote to adopt at the next meeting. With that, I'd like to turn things over to Dr. Baeta for the superintendent reports and recommendations. Oh, sorry, yes.
Sorry. There's one thing I wanted to say. I love the fact that we're taking the opportunity to train.
Mhm.
We're in a school, and and as Dr. Sear said, it's a lifelong learning opportunity. And with that in mind, I was just thinking, if it's possible, and if you have time, I'd like to cross-train everyone here if that's possible. For example, I'd like to be able to do a little bit of your job, and perhaps someone can do a little bit of my job as vice chair on the agenda, which I start them off, and everyone speaks them and everything else. And I think it'll be very helpful, because we talked about the transition. So please keep that in mind. If there's any time that you feel there's a good spot I can train Armando, put me in that spot, and I'll sink or swim.
Okay. Thank you so much for that comment. I love that. Excellent. Okay. Superintendent?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee and the audience. The opening of school report, as you know, I go into a lot more detail after October numbers are here, because we can dive into all of our numbers in our schools. But in general, we've had a very successful start to the school year. As you know, you do a lot of planning. There's a lot of people in the background doing their work. So I publicly already thanked, but I'd like to, at the convocation, but I'd like to take the time to just really thank our admin assistants at our schools and here at central office, our custodial staff, our food services staff that come in a couple of days early, and all the way down to the administrators who literally put the schedules together, and then other folks come in to make sure that it's running correctly, making sure the kids are in their seats on the first day. We are still working through a lot of students in and out. As you know, I reported out to you that we are now in a situation of a student where we're trying to figure out the issue of a parent being taken by ICE. That just happened. It's our first situation of that. So we're trying to make sure that that child is supported, where they're staying, and so on and so forth. And that's it's heartbreaking in many ways that children have to undergo this type of situation, and it's our first one for us where that's happening. That did not take place on school property. That was off of school grounds, but still I think it's important. All of our major projects are either completed or almost completed. Our playground at the Hanson School is underway. We anticipate that it's going to be done towards the end of this month. A lot of that just has to do with materials coming in and all of that. Our HVAC system at the Gibbons School was completed, and the electrical was completed also at the DAW. We completed, as I noted at an earlier meeting, the swing set handicap accessibility at the Gibbons School. That was what I call our big dig project, because it took so long. I still don't know why. Probably the thing that you're going to hear from Matt when it's his turn to speak as Assistant Superintendent for HR is that, we're fully staffed as we started the opening of the day, which is not necessarily true my first year here because we were coming out of trying to find folks. Julie and I, the superintendent-elect and I, have agreed that sometime in October, November, then January, February, and March and April, we're going to be doing some community forums around the transition, so that people get to see what the role of the superintendent is and also get to meet her and get to ask questions. These will be virtual meetings. Some will be virtual, some will be in person. We'll kind of play and see, work around the school schedules, maybe even try to do something where we put ourselves at a school. But we really want to make that transition, and you're going to be hearing from Julie, the superintendent-elect, tonight on the transitional plan that she's worked on and I've supported. And the projects that are underway, the redistricting committee will be meeting in November, and that is now chaired by Dr. Quayle. The absenteeism working group that I've been running, where we've seen improvements in our absenteeism, continues to meet. Stoughton Academy review is underway. The transitional plan you're here tonight, and the budget templates for FY25 are due this week. So we'll be starting to go through that, put it together, and then get the working group together so that we can start meeting and really working through all of that. And then lastly, we have some tentative dates that we'll be announcing soon on the beginning of negotiations with both Unit A and then eventually Unit B. That's the start. The superintendent's transition plan draft, I'll turn over to Ms. Miller.
Great. Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to share the transition plan draft with you tonight. Firstly, I would like to thank all of you for your support during this process and for valuing my participation in the new superintendent's induction program. The district is committed to 3 years of that program, and luckily and gratefully, I was able to start the program this year. So my coach and mentor, Cynthia Paris, is here tonight in observing the school committee meeting, and I look forward to her feedback. As you know, I will assume the role of superintendent on July 1st, 2026. And over the next school year, Dr. Baeta and I will be working side by side to ensure a seamless and thoughtful leadership transition. And this plan that you have before you, the Leading Forward plan, is designed to preserve the district's momentum and strengthen relationships and prepare for sustained success well beyond the transition. The vision for this work is simple but powerful. We want to create an environment of collaboration and support so that knowledge and experience and relationships can transfer smoothly from Dr. Baeta to me as superintendent-elect. And by doing so, and doing this intentionally, we avoid the transition dip that sometimes happens when leadership changes. And instead, we position Stoughton Public Schools to keep moving forward academically and operationally and culturally. The purpose of the plan is fivefold: to prepare for a seamless transfer of authority on July 1st, 2026, to ensure development of a deep understanding of district operations and budget processes and human resources, to guide the search and onboarding of a new high school principal, which is a pivotal role in the district, to build strong relationships with the school committee and staff and families, municipal partners, and community organizations, so that we maintain stability while planning for the next chapter of growth. All of this is framed through an equity lens, making sure that every decision considers student access, opportunity, and outcomes. To accomplish this work, our work is organized into 6 key areas: leadership and governance, curriculum instruction and assessment, human resources and labor relations, finance and operations, facilities and capital projects, and community engagement. And through this plan, it is pretty comprehensive. You have a much more detailed plan before you in the packets, which breaks down the learning and listening opportunities over the course of the year, but I'll highlight a few. That I will be attending all school committee meetings, reviewing policies and understanding the evaluation process, taking a deep dive into curriculum and MCAS data, observing negotiations, preparing for the high school principal transition, learning the full district budget process, capital planning, and municipal partnerships, and continue to expand on already formed relationships by meeting with PTOs and school councils, student groups, and community leaders to strengthen trust and collaboration. This is going to happen through a gradual release model where I will be shadowing and learning, through the whole year, but up through March, and then take on increasing responsibilities come April through June, with Dr. Baeta as a reflective partner. And Dr. Baeta and I meet bi-weekly now and communicate regularly regarding big district decisions, initiatives, structure, staffing, facilities, and other school district matters. A critical part of the plan is the high school principal transition. We will begin the search this fall to ensure that the new principal is selected, hired, and fully supported before the 26-27 school year. This process will include a strong stakeholder voice and thoughtful onboarding plan so that the next principal is ready to lead without interruption to student learning and staff morale. The plan outlines organizing a search committee in October and November, posting for the position in around November, with an aim to begin the interview process in January. I will not be involved in the interview process, but will participate in the final selection decision with Dr. Baeta. And the goal is to appoint a principal by the end of February. This will allow time for the onboarding of the new principal. I have set aside time to be available to them in June as well, and of course, a resource to them throughout their whole following school year and beyond. So in short, this is not a change in title. It is about continuity of vision, stability for staff and students, and careful preparation that when July 1st, 2026 arrives, our district is not only ready, but positioned to thrive. So I'm deeply grateful to Dr. Baeta for his partnership and to you, the school committee, for your support as we lead Stoughton Public Schools forward together. Sure. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any questions specific to Ms. Miller before we turn it back over to Dr. Baeta? Armando?
Yes, I remember Heidi had said at one time that grants and money coming in from outside of Stoughton made up about 50% of the budget. And I was just wondering how you're transitioning or getting a hold of that, because it saves the taxpayers and so much money. And I think that's a huge part of being able to fund the schools appropriately and still keep the tax burden as low as possible on these grants. I was wondering what your thoughts are in getting a hold of that process.
Yeah, absolutely. So during this transition, I will be conducting a review of our current grant. I will be meeting with the business office. I actually met with Heidi Perkins for quite a few hours already. I plan to continue to do so. I meet with the Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum Instruction and Technology, who usually writes several grants and secures several grants, and department leaders to make sure that we are assessing capacity so that I understand the totality of the amount of grants that we are already receiving and operating, and to connect with state and regional resources to make sure that we can identify new opportunities. Because like you mentioned, we have a lot of wonderful programming here. There's additional programming we would like to do. We would like to be able to bring in that funding to be able to support our programming, but also reduce that financial burden. So I plan to have many more meetings with many individuals.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Other questions? Thank you so much, Ms. Miller.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Thank you so much. Well, it's always hard to follow the superintendent-elect. I think I have some good news. For a long time, Stoughton has had to utilize all of its schools except for the high school for polling. The town is now seeking to move to one polling space for Election Day, starting with the April 7th election in town, and then continuing forward after that pending seeing how it works. And that school would be the O'Donnell Middle School. Today, we met for the second time with the town clerk and engineer's office. We've set aside some of the things we would like to see, signage at every school announcing that the polling place for the town of Stoughton is now OMS only. It would be utilizing the gym, which has been used before and is ADA accessible. We would be opening up 32 spots on the side of the building for the purposes of parking. We're going to be moving forward. As you know, it's not a question that comes before the school committee. It's already part of your established procedures, but I wanted to make sure that you were aware that we're working with them. There is cost savings around for the school department as well. Our custodians are running a regular shift, not having to come in and do extra work and all that stuff, so we see a small benefit there. But this has been an ongoing question in town, going back to when I was in your role as a school committee member. So I'm endorsing it because I think it's time to try something. This will eliminate all elections at our elementary schools. And that has always been the biggest concern that all of us who sit in this seat and all 5 of you and your prior colleagues have had. We are constantly right now battling some real traffic issues at the South Elementary School in the DAW. And so I think this is a huge benefit. We know it's going to be a hiccup for the middle school, but they're older. It's going to be to the side entrance. We are going to have police presence at the road, and the building is closed internally, and there are police officers inside. So just want to let you know that we're heading in that direction. We're supporting the town in it. They're excited about it. I'm excited about it, to be quite honest, because we're going to try it in the April 7th election. I've been working with Dennis and Leanne Kerman in Dennis's office on getting all this done and supporting them. And then we'll figure out after that what went well, what didn't, and I'll report back to you folks about what we think and so on and so forth. So just a piece of information.
Questions on that?
Sure.
Karen?
The 32 spot, well, let me first say, will there still be voting that you know of at the town hall?
I don't have an answer to that. I don't know that
Because there's
answer.
usually early voting at the town hall, so anyone who's listening, they might be concerned that now it's just at OMS.
Yeah, I didn't ask that question, but I can look into it and get an answer and make sure that it's an agenda item that I can come up with. That's not a
Yeah,
problem.
I think that would be helpful for people to know that are listening. The 32 spots on the side of the building, you talking about the ones that are opposite the JV baseball field?
That's correct.
Okay, so it's not going to affect student parking for the high school? I guess was the first thing that came to my mind.
There could be some impact because I got to move those 32 places. The question will be, how do we do that? We know that those places go out to the juniors as they're becoming seniors, and we get more kids, so we're going to have to strategize where they go. I'm not overly concerned about it because many of those cars on that side are always in and out. For example, I was there today, and not every space was taken up. I was able to park over there, so, but we'll.
You're not talking about the student lot, you're talking about that
Correct,
in
but the
front of the
student lot-
JV baseball field?
And the student lot currently still has a significant number of openings on that top side.
Yeah, they usually do until December, January.
December's the
yeah,
big hit.
Yeah, and then there's no more.
So in December, the plan, we've talked about this internally, in December, our plan in January is to really start walking up there and taking a look at how many spots could there be available to move our staff there, not voters.
Right, right. It's just for the high school kids and parents and families, that might be something to think about.
Yep.
That their student might lose their parking spot, and now it's either you're going to have to drive them to school that day, which means you have to change your schedule around, or they have to find parking somewhere like at Shaw's, or, I mean, the kids might move around.
We have no intentions of not having parking spots for students who already have assigned parking spots.
Okay.
That is not our intent at all.
Okay, all right, that was my.
We will work around, how we have to do any of that. Our biggest issue is actually in the afternoon with the number of people showing up too early to pick up their kids at the middle school, and so it causes a traffic lane situation. So my biggest concern is
That's at every
drop-off.
school.
Yeah, drop
High
off
school, too.
and pickup are going to be the core issues that we're going to have to look at during that first election, where we're going to have low numbers. And so if there are low numbers, because it's a local election, that's usually lower, what's that impact for the August or September primaries? And there is no date yet for the primary because they're trying to get away from the Tuesday after Labor Day because it causes town employees to have to work on Monday, the Labor Day, which is a concern for a lot of folks.
I just applaud this because I know it's been a long time coming. This has been a lot of preparation and talking, and there was time that it was just going to be the town hall. So this is news to me that it's now going to be the OMS. You mentioned really quickly traffic issues at the south and the dock. Can you just expand? If that wasn't going to be part of it already, maybe I got ahead of myself.
So what's happening is we have some bottlenecks. As you know, the Dawes School right now is you come in one way, you go out one way basically. You have the side entrance, but everything goes out to Pine. And it's just the start of the school year with traffic and drop-offs and stuff. So the DAR is not, the south is a total bottleneck, has been for years. I think we're going to be spending some time down there, myself, Dennis, and the principal. And we've gotten some communications from the parents to me about, it needs to be. And I'll tell you right now, you can't do a staggered release. You got time on learning, that is not an option on the table. So we're going to have to come up with some scenarios around expanding where people park, either with our staffing, asking the town to allow us to have staff park on the street in order to make more room. But it's a total bottleneck. I think it's because, and I don't have this number yet, but I think it's because we have more and more drop-offs taking place at the South School with the slow increase in enrollment that we've seen the last few years. But we are trying to address it. We've had PD down there through the Principal Dorr. Dennis has been down there and provided some thoughts. I'm going to be going down there tomorrow. I have a meeting down there right before release time. See it myself, if you will, for the second time, and then try to see if we can come up with something. But remember, that is one lane only, and has been since the start of the school. It's never been a two-lane process over there.
Yeah, I can say that not only is it just the start of the school, but also the busing.
Yeah.
Because we added fees, so there's probably less people now that are taking the bus, more drop-offs on there. I hear that I'm hearing a lot of concern about safety over there and the children kind of moving around in there. So do we have a real safety concern during morning drop-off and afternoon pickup?
Yeah, I have
Is there a safety issue?
There's always a safety issue at any of these schools. I mean, last year, my biggest headache was...
A bigger than usual.
Yeah, we do. And last year...
Compared to the other schools.
Yeah, our biggest issue last year was OMS. This year, it's the South. Last year at the South, I did not receive a single email or phone call about drop-off and pickup at the South. So we have... So that's one. Two, when are people showing up? We have families showing up an hour before the release of school at all 8 of our buildings. That's got to stop. Because it's just, well, that's the problem. We got kids running out, and then people are sitting there, and they want to take off first. So what we may have to do is nobody moves until every kid's out of the building. In other words, everybody stays.
All I'm going to say is good luck to that.
Well, that is a way to do it. Schools do that. They wait for the buses to come in, the buses, the cars, the kids get released, and once the buses are full and the cars are all full, now we release. Not going to be happy, but that does resolve a lot of the safety issues.
Any other questions about the town election site changes? Yes.
I think this is probably, I prefer the vote. I prefer voting not to take place in any school.
Right.
My preference. And I thought the solution was the town hall, but apparently that's no longer. It's back into the school. But I always wonder, the town owns buildings like the Armory. Why don't they make that the official voting place? And I know it needs some work and everything else.
Tear down.
I
Get it out of the school.
think there's a lot of things. You've got an issue with the space and upgrading. You're going to have an issue with parking on that side of over there. That's a small lot for parking because of the way you go in and out. I don't think the town hall was ever really an incident that we can consider, or a building we could consider, because there's no parking. So even with the small lot, that turns into
The plan
parking.
is to make a ton of parking in there.
Right, so I think this is let's try something different this year that we haven't done. I don't know, I'm 56, been in town for 51 years, so at least 50 years. I mean, the last time we changed the polls where we combined the Gibbons into 4 and 5, because it used to only be 1 at one point. And we combined into 4. I think that's the last time we did anything. The high school is a great building for elections, but it's got an internal gymnasium. And so that just becomes very, very difficult. And then during the day, there is no parking. That's one of the reasons why, something like an election day will work pretty well for having one building, one poll, because our OMS won't be used. You just move our staff to the PD day at the high school, or you have just a complete day off that day, which is what the district usually does on presidential elections. So I'll look into some of these potential options, but this is an opportunity for us to take a look at that and at the same time address some of the issues that we're having with transportation at the South School.
And a follow-up, I'm assuming, well, maybe I shouldn't assume, when the new building is built, because it's be more secure and the gym will be locked out from the rest of the school, would then the town move the voting into the new building?
I mean, there's a potential for that. I mean, one of the things I think that we're trying to do is that they're trying to be conscientious and move it out of the schools by now only using one school instead of, seven schools,
Yeah.
7 of the 8. So that's better for maybe. I think the concern's going to be what's the impact on actual voting, addressing Karen's comment earlier about is town hall going to do early voting and all of that stuff? I don't have that answer, so I'll get that answer for you. But because I think that's part of the reasons why you see less people at the polling places. Local elections have been roughly under 10% participation, and in some cases a little higher for like the debt exclusion. But we can easily get into the 50, 60, 70% for a presidential election. And so that's a lot of traffic. For example, we saw they did a chart of when voting took place, and for presidential elections, the boom in the morning and the boom at 5 o'clock, it's like huge numbers, almost 1,000 people trying to get to the polls. The gym is big enough at OMS to handle 8 precincts. There's no doubt about that. So I think it's an opportunity. I'll address saying are there other options. They have been looking at other options, but I think a lot of it has to do with parking.
And also, North Stoughton doesn't want to go all the way to South Stoughton
Yeah,
to
yeah.
vote. So the new building probably will not go through as a voting place. Plus, it's an elementary school. That's my take.
Next.
Next is the appointments. So this is very standard, Madam Chair, through you to the committee. By state regulation, you have to read each of these as a motion and then stick the proper name of the person in the motion, have it seconded, any debate, and have a vote. So I'll turn it over to the chair.
Thank you. So the first is the appointment to represent Stoughton Public Schools at the North River Collaborative. I need someone who is willing to make a motion for Dr. Joseph Baeta to take that role, and then I've got a statement to read. Yep. It has to be read into, yeah.
The same one?
So, yeah.
All right, please read. Pursuant to Chapter 40, Section 4E, as amended by the Chapter 43 of the Acts of 2012, members of the Board of Directors at North River Collaborative are to be appointed annually. Dr. Joseph Baeta is appointed to serve as the Stoughton Public School representative on the Board of Directors of North River Collaborative in accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 4E, as amended by Chapter 43 of the Acts of 2012 for the 2025-26 school year. There is your, yes.
All right, so that is the motion. Do I have a second? All right, so the motion was made by Jen and seconded by Jillian. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries 5-0.
I'm looking forward to this new addition. I'm kidding.
And then the other appointment is myself to the Pilgrim Area Collaborative.
Do I have to read this again?
Yes, you just need to change the names to protect the innocent.
Sure. Pursuant of Chapter 40, Section 4E, as amended by Chapter 43 of the Acts of 2012, members of the Board of Directors at Pilgrim Area Collaborative are to be appointed annually. Chris Shannon is appointed to serve as Stoughton Public School Representative on the Board of Directors of Pilgrim Area Collaborative in accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40, Section 4E, as amended by Chapter 43 of the Acts of 2012 for the 2005-2006 school year.
Nailed it. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, second also by Jillian, moved by Jen, seconded by Jillian. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Thank you. Aye.
Aye.
Wait, do I abstain?
Nope, you can vote for yourself.
Okay, aye. All right, motion carries 5-0. Is that it for superintendent? Perfect. So I just had one update. This year is the first year that we've been appointing school committee members to be liaisons to the different schools within the district. I had the pleasure of attending the Awesome Dawsome PTO first meeting on September 11th, and then also experience Hanson's Heart on their back-to-school night on September 18th at both events. I had the pleasure of chatting with the PTO leadership and the principals. Principal Cancieri provided an overview of the initiatives being implemented at the DAW, which is really exciting to hear and generated a lot of excitement with both parents and staff. And Principal Feeney provided me with a phenomenal tour at the Hanson, introducing me to parents and students like the mayor. Watch out for that one. There's an incredible sense of pride and community that both principals have fostered at both schools, and it was evident how that culture plays out in instructional excellence and school pride. It was such a treat to participate in these activities, and I look forward to getting to know these schools better. So I just wanted to report on that, and I have no communications. So moving on to the next agenda item, financial update.
Sure. Warren,
Yes.
submitted with the agenda for the record, the warrants that were reviewed and approved. And there's a typo that should read Everest 16.
Oh. Gotcha. All right, so you're just reviewing the signed warrants that were listed out on the handout that you included in the packet. All right, and we will enter those into the record. Thank you so much for that. We have a new item, personnel update.
Good evening, everybody. So I provided a memo to Dr. Baeta, CC'd the school committee, focusing this month's Human Resources monthly update as a personnel update and back to school, forgive the typo, in the subject line. A former English teacher of me, I'll never forgive myself. I'll have to go back to Paul Zinni's last slide to try to recover. So generally, I would just like to say that, as Dr. Baeta said, the opening of school was a very smooth opening. I'd just like to express how amazing the opening was from an HR perspective. This is my third summer hiring, helping to hire all positions. This is the best that we've ever done with the fill rate. We were nearly 100% at fill rate in all departments for the first day of school. And I hate to bring up COVID, even though we're so far removed from COVID, but in the landscape of educational hiring, COVID has finally feels like it's lifted a little bit this past summer. We had a little more than 40 Unit A teacher positions. We had fantastic candidates. No more real emergency licenses, which were really needed in COVID, but have kind of gone away. We usually do a summer hiring fair because we have trouble filling some of our paraprofessional, custodial, food services positions. We did not need to do the summer hiring fair this year. I kind of like to do the summer hiring fair, but it was great that we didn't need to do it this year. I provided to the committee the agenda for the summer orientation for new teachers. Every new Unit A educator is involved in an induction and mentoring program. It's a very robust program where we support our first-year educators, whether it's their first year in the classroom or their 31st year in the classroom, but their first year in Stoughton Public Schools. They get an induction and mentoring program that provides support. I gave the agenda to that summer orientation. I thought you might like to see what they get a taste of. There was a video this year, which was amazing. It was a video that was done by Kristen DeMeo. She helps to run the mentoring program, and Miss Jolly, who does some stuff with the high school. Suzanne? Jolly, yeah. Did an amazing video. History of Stoughton, history of the schools of Stoughton, and it was great. And we had a couple of para positions to fill, but custodians, we had 100% fill rate for custodians, basically 100% fill rate for teaching positions. We have a long-term substitute position at OMS and ELA that we still need to fill. Have a very promising meeting tomorrow on that. We welcomed 3 new administrators to our SPS leadership team. You will meet the 3 new administrators at different meetings. We took a look at some of the agenda items. I think you'll meet all 3 of those folks, but if I could summarize what they bring to the table in a nutshell, it's experience. They're not first-year administrators. So Anthony Freeman is a dean at OMS. He's been an administrator for many years in many different capacities. He's been in Rhode Island. He's been in Massachusetts. He was a science teacher who did some district-level curriculum coordination, felt himself a little bit separated from the students, wanted to come back from the students. Very lucky for us, he's down at OMS. Elizabeth Dupre was the EL director in Abington and was there for many years. She's wonderful. She is now here as our assistant director. And Bob Motta is the new assistant director of special education. He comes to us with a wealth of experience from New Bedford and, I want to say this right for Bob, Fairhaven. Did I say that right? I always say that town name wrong. Fairhaven. He's been an adjustment counselor, a classroom teacher, an administrator of special education. So they add a lot to our SPS leadership team. We're very lucky to have them.
I just want to enter into the record that these are not new added positions. These are replacements of folks who resign for purposes of their own career enhancement. Thank you.
Yeah, good point. And then, I just mentioned that we're doing our mandatory training requirements. Not the most exciting paragraph in the memo probably, but we have to do it every year. And now we use a platform that's make sure we're completely compliant and make sure that all of our employees get the mandatory training topics, not just our teachers and paras, which is something that we did for a long time in Stoughton. So, yeah, it was a great summer for hiring. And the 2 days with the new educators, it's a great group, very strong new Unit A folks in our classrooms. Every position at Stoughton High School filled before the first day of school, so, yeah. So, yeah, that's the memo. Should I segue right to the next thing? Yeah, okay. So I'm going to have Danielle Gallen, the Director of Health Services, come up. And then, shall we have Sarah come up, too? Yeah. Sarah, you want to come up? Sarah Gordon? She seems like she's really looking forward to being on television. And I'll have Danielle talk about the position and the candidate for this.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having us. We, in Stoughton, pride ourselves on truly educating each and every single child that we are blessed with in this town, and we have some very medically complex and amazing human beings. We had previously had contract nursing with one of our students and had some attendance issues that, unfortunately this child needs a one-to-one nurse in order to be able to come to school, and he's thriving. I don't know, he's the light of my life. Anyways, and so because of this, over the past year or so, Sarah Gordon and a few other of our per diem nurses learned how to care for this child in school and filled in the gaps so that we were continuing his education. Special Ed and I decided, or suggested, I apologize, to leadership that it would make sense for us to move from contract nursing and save significant money and move to an SPS registered nurse to care for this child in district. It's better for care, it's better for attendance, and it's a better overall picture for our very medically complex kiddos. And so this is where this position came from. It's not a new position. It is was a contracted services position, if that makes sense. Sarah interviewed for the position. She's actually been caring for this student in school during the school year, which we're very grateful for. We did not renew the contract with contracted services. Sarah comes to us with a wealth of experience. She is here in Massachusetts, originally had spent a long time in the Texas area. She has been published in a medical journal. She has presented at national conferences, and her experience pertains particularly to a very critical subset of humans, which previously was labor and delivery, and then some very medically complex kids when they're very little, and how that pertains to how that care then goes as they grow. So we've been blessed to have Sarah be a part of our team as a per diem nurse, and I'm very grateful for Chris Shannon's time, for Matt Colantonio's time, for Caroline Sampson's time, for allowing this interview and this opportunity to possibly happen. How is that for a summary? Is that okay? Sorry. I felt like I needed a little background as to where this came from.
No, thank you so much for that, Danielle. Really appreciate it. I would like to say to my fellow members that I had the distinct pleasure of sitting in on Sarah's interview. It was evident from speak to you, to your responses to questions, that you lead with compassion, that you have extensive experience in working in partnership with families and staff during medical emergencies, and prioritizing student agency in the classroom. All very commendable. You're already performing the duties of this position and have experience supporting this particular student's ability to access the curriculum. So I am pleased to endorse Sarah Gordon, for this position. Any questions for Danielle, Matt, Armando?
Actually, I have a comment. I love the fact that we can save money and improve the program.
Yeah.
This is a perfect example of
What we did last time, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
It's amazing.
It's wonderful. And,
Thank you.
And not enough people know of the efforts in saving money and improving the program at the same time. And you're proving it can be done.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So in general, you appoint or fire the superintendent of schools, and you accept the recommendation of the superintendent of schools for assistant superintendent, director of special education, finance director, school doctor, and director of health services, and whoever the nurses are. And so we are accepting the recommendation of the interview team, and we have a positive, we seek a positive vote of the school committee.
Any questions? Do I have a motion?
Make motion for the new hire, Sarah,
In the role of one-to-one registered nurse.
in the role of one-to-one registered nurse.
Perfect. All right, so that was made by Armando, seconded by Jen.
And she is a DESE certified school nurse as well. So all of our positions do fall under that. But thank you. I appreciate it.
Any discussion? Roll call vote?
Aye.
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 And now it's official. Congratulations.
Welcome aboard.
Dr. Beta, you have a capital item for town meeting?
Thank you, Madam Chair, through you to the rest of the committee. As you know, we've been working diligently. I'd like to bring up Dennis, if he doesn't mind, to the table just for any answers. But Dennis has been working very hard for us to address this safety fencing issue that we have that's come about from two different things. So the easiest way for you to look at this is to look at the two outlines that Dennis provided us. You'll see one for the Daw School that has 4 locations. It is the 3 locations of the new HVAC systems that we are trying to protect from the students and weather and everything else. Those would be gated, and so that we can have access to work on them if needed. It also protects them from any other negative stuff that could happen. And then finally, enclosing the playground area at the Daw School. And this is an important one as well because, as you know, we have some students who like to run, and we have some other issues, and we also have wildlife back there, much more than you think, by the way, so this just makes it a whole lot safer. If you flip over, behind that is the Gibbons School. That is solely the 3 areas where we just put in the HVAC system, and it was not part of the contract. And again, that's for protection and safety, and access will be given and provided. Our only vendor that's come forward thus far is for $51,500, not the $64,000 article that we thought we were going to need. So we're actually saving some money on this. And I will be presenting with a positive vote tonight this to the FinCom on Thursday night at 7 o'clock. So that's the general gist. I will tell you that one of the concerns that we have is the vendors are busy. The vendors are busy. And so we're not getting the same number of companies, if you will, returning the phone call or saying, you know, hey, I need 2 more weeks before I can come out and that type of stuff. And so just keep that in mind as we're working on other projects as well. And I'll turn it over to Dennis for any other clarification.
Thank you very much, Dr. Baeta. You actually covered a lot of what I wanted to cover here. As for the Daw Elementary, Dr. Baeta is correct. The upper playground needs fencing. It is a safety concern. And it's actually the only playground in our district that does not have fencing around it. So I think to keep it in standard with all the other schools, we need that fencing there to protect students from animals, the runners, just in general. And then for the HVAC units, we really want to protect those units. Right now, they're open. Anybody can go in there, shut them down and everything like that. So we want to protect our investments. It costs a lot of money to get these HVAC systems in place. So we want to make sure that they're protected from the kids playing in the playground area because balls are going to go flying, rocks being thrown and stuff like that. So we really want to protect our investment in the equipment. And also having fencing there prevents students from wanting to play on top of it, jump on top of the equipment and everything like that. So I think this is a worthwhile investment into the students and our schools. For the Daw to do the fencing for the playground and the HVAC would be $35,000, and for the Gibbons would be $16,500, which is a total of the $51,500 that Joe got. So I am asking the school committee to consider and vote to have this submitted to the fall special town meeting. If there's any questions, I'll be willing to.
Thank you. Armando?
Yes, in the Daw, where's the fence going? Is it in the grassy area or is it the hard top?
So it's not the hard top. So the area that it's highlighted, it's actually mulch. So it kind of looks, from the aerial view, it looks like hard top. It's just mulch, and that's where all the swings are at and all the play structures and everything like that are at.
Okay, thank you. I was unsure if it was an entire field back here.
No, it's just that whole little area where it's highlighted is where that playground structure is. And there will be a gate there as well, so we can add new mulch to the playground and be able to do work, or if we have to remove equipment, it's easy access to be able to do that.
Dennis, I'm curious, is there a cost savings because we're using the same vendor for both sites?
Yes, there is, yep.
Thank you. Go ahead.
What's the timeframe for, like, once this gets approved, how long does it take?
Well, the vendor who gave me the estimate, he's looking for the work, so I think he wants to work on it as quick as possible.
Yeah, well, more like curious of ordering the items.
Yeah,
Like,
so.
you know, just like with tariffs and stuff, if Are these in stock? Does he have all the equipment already?
That is a good question. I don't know that.
Does it change if we have to wait an X amount of time?
That is a good question. I don't have the answer to that on top of my head, but I can look that up for you.
Typically, Jillian, the time frame would be that about 10 days, 15 days after town meeting, everything's kind of set up financially, if you will, and we can usually get that work done right away. What we could run into is, remember, we're going to be drilling and putting stuff, cement down. We could run into an issue of having to wait until the spring, but get a commitment from the vendor that the cost is the cost is the cost.
Yeah, usually when I just work with vendors, just knowing that, you put an order in, like, oh, I have to order the stock, and that takes time for it to come in, and things change. It could be 3-4 months down the road.
Yeah, our biggest one of that, it was the Gibbon School handicap accessible swing set, which didn't get done for 3 years and cost us $12,000 more, as an example. So yes, we could run into that, but it is what it is. Well, at that point, we have to do one of two things. We either, A, do the work with the money that we have and ask for more money to complete it, or completely stop it, go back, and ask for a different article and add money to that article. Usually get the money that we have, do what we can if there was an increase, and then if there's more money needed, then sometimes, like, let's say it was $3,000 more, we might just try to find that in operational and get it done, as an example.
Hopefully their common items are in stock and he's ready to.
Yeah, most of it's chain link fence. So I think, and the company that gave us the estimate, they're predominantly a huge fencing company around the area. So I'm hoping they do have it in stock. And from what I'm reading, I'm seeing the lead time for fencing is usually 2 weeks. So it's not too bad.
So the DAW has never been fenced, that back playground area?
As far as I know, it's never been fenced. Even when I when I was there as a kid, there used to be a little play area there that was fenced, but that was almost 40 years ago.
And is there something that precipitated us now saying, geez, we really need to fence this in? Because this isn't necessarily chump change. This is a lot of money, and I agree that the HVAC systems most definitely need to be fenced in because they're a lot of money and we want them protected. It's nice to have playgrounds fenced in, but this has never been fenced in. Are we seeing safety issues?
We are seeing safety issues. Speaking with the principal of the DAW school, Robert Consigliere, and also speaking to the paraprofessionals and some of the teachers, there are students who are running into the woods. And they're fast, and they're having a hard time keeping up with them. So this is kind of to, protect them from themselves and also help the teachers and the paras be able to manage their students. So to me, it's very important. It is a safety issue.
Okay, and I think I read on there that, I don't even know what it's called, the slat inserts. So it's not just going to be fenced, it's going to be visible. There's going to be a visibility block?
So the slat inserts are going to be for the HVAC system, to protect the HVAC.
But not for the playground?
Not for the playground.
I see, okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions? Can I have a motion to approve the capital item as requested by the superintendent? And that was done by Armando. Do I have a second?
Second.
That was done by Jen Sears. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Aye.
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 Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
At this point, I'd like to turn it over to the policy folks to talk about the competency determination middle school pathway exploration.
All right, so we met, about a week and a half ago, and went through this with Jonathan, both of them. So let's first look at the competency. Do you want to look at that one first?
Yeah, that sounds
So I think you should have both. You should have what Desi says and what, we came up with it. I think if you look, I've tried to figure, looking at both, and I think Jillian and I and Jonathan thought this, it's pretty, we get it to match pretty good. We know that there's more requirements for a kid to graduate from Stoughton schools than on this. But this is what, by taking this and creating this, we've created a great policy that works. I know that Julie had some say in this too, because I had some questions for Julie the last time and she answered them. So Jonathan, myself, and Jillian feel that right now this is a good policy going forth that covers us now that MCAS are not a graduation requirement. So, and we'd be happy, Jillian and I, to answer any questions if you guys have it.
Okay. Armando?
I'm just curious, what was the biggest challenge in the policies?
Just, I guess maybe to make sure that we, covered everything that was on here. My big questions with some classes, I wanted to make sure that we still offer these classes, but as Julie said, this is to match up with DESE. It's not actually what students 100% need to graduate from our schools, and they're gonna be offering like world history, where this mentions US history, so it does push students, a little more to have more classes.
Karen?
So on that competency determination, it's not just for teachers or people who understand, you know what I'm going to say. You know what I'm going to say. Yeah, I would like to see it, some of the acronyms expanded so
Okay.
that parents and lay people actually have an idea of what we're talking about. So on that second page, yep. So there were some things on there that talked about special ed, and I would like to see, yes,
Okay,
right,
so
yeah,
break
so
out
I would
those
like,
ones.
so that when parents are looking at that, they're saying, geez, does this pertain to my family or not? I don't know, because I don't know what these terms are. So if we could expand those, that would be my only,
Yeah, I don't see why that's not a problem. That's easy.
yes, thank you.
Because half the
Yeah.
time, I lose the acronym.
Yeah,
I get stuck
yep.
like, what's that stand for?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
As a policy, it's a good idea.
Yep, nope, we
It's
can
a great
definitely do
addition,
that.
Karen, thank you.
thanks.
That's easy,
Yeah, no, appreciate that,
easy fix. I'm circling them right now.
appreciate it.
No
Any other
problem.
questions about this particular policy as they prepare it for a vote at our next meeting? Okay, did you want to move on to middle school pathway exploration?
Wanna do that? All right, Julian, go ahead.
All right, so you'll have two documents. You'll have one from DESE that made a recommendation for middle school pathways. On this one, it's just outlining what we, already do, but putting it into a policy that we're providing middle school children with the opportunity to see what their different options are, going into schools for tech schools or going to a traditional high school, and allowing them to visit these schools, sorry, I'm not this on, visit these schools to know all the options that are available to them.
And we've been told, at least by Jonathan, that this is already being done. So we're really voting on a policy that we're already
Yeah.
doing.
You're formalizing it in
Yes,
policy.
Yes,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
recommended by
This-
DESE to formalize.
yes.
So just as a sidebar, if I may, real quick, the reason why this is coming up is that the vocational entrance is now a lottery system.
Yeah.
And so what DESE is trying to do is really establish that there was an opportunity provided to every student to get to that lottery. And so for this, I've been around for a long time, and middle schools have been doing this for a long time, but this just really covers the liability of, I didn't know, I didn't do it, and it places us with the liability, but it also puts the emphasis at the school level and then at the parent level to make sure that if the child wants to. This is our first time going through this, so it's going to be interesting what happens in the future.
Karen?
So is there something in that policy that says that there's parental involvement, that the parent, it's not just something that happens in the school, but it's something that parents are invited to and they know about it?
Yeah,
It's not just an email that goes to the student and then the student never opens the email?
So the
Or
way
you can just let me know how it works in the high school?
typical way that it works is we
middle
have to,
school.
we have to release the information, address, et cetera, of the family, parent, guardian of the student. And the vocational school is the one that communicates directly with the student. So you get a card with an open house or something of that sort. What this policy is, if you look at the, and I'll defer to the members of the subcommittee, if you take a look at the commissioners access to career education, one of the big pushes that you'll see in here, to your point, is going to be everything to do with making sure that when we are providing the information to the school, that we are making sure that the parents are aware of that information as well. So it wouldn't just be an email to a student, it would actually have to be information that's provided or available to a parent. So if a parent calls and says, has this already been mailed to Southeastern Regional and Norfolk Aggie, we have some type of direct knowledge that, yes, that was done. Very much like the, I hate to say, like the college application process. So, and
That wasn't, I don't think that was quite what I was saying, although it's great information. I think what I was wondering is, if this has already been happening at the middle school level, I just want to know how the parents are notified about this. Is it,
oh, we have,
Yeah.
we will, yes, so
Yeah,
we now
thanks.
have we now have to, upon everything being in place, we now have to notify the families directly of the process that's in place, and Southeastern does the same thing, because I have to do the attestation form for the district that we are doing this, and this. Have to sign off, send it to DESE. Southeastern will already have addresses and all of that. They do their part. We're out of it, except for making sure that kids who want to apply are applying. If the school wants to come out and visit, they can come out and visit. They can do open houses and all of that other stuff. I think that may address what you were looking at.
yeah, that's a little bit closer. So the vocational schools, so it's not just Southeastern, it's an Aggie also for our district. They will be sending mailers out. Is that what I understand this new policy is saying? That they're going to, and the DESI one, that they're going to be sending mailers out to the families in our district saying that these are some of the options that are available to them. And then it should list something like open houses and that sort of thing. And then I believe, if I read it correctly inside there, it also said that we, as a district, have to open the schools to them to come in and make a.
Yeah.
We do,
already
is that
do.
something that we already do?
Yeah, we've been doing it for a very long time.
And
Yeah.
is that something that parents attend? Or
Parents
is that
don't
something
attend, but
during
they're
the
very
day?
aware of, yeah. They
Are
give,
they?
they sort of give their children permission to do it.
Okay, so
When I
that's,
read this policy, I think that first opening sentence is good, because it establishes that we're going to make students and families aware of it.
well, so are we going to change that? We're going to tweak that a little bit so that it's not during school, but it's an open house where families can also attend, not just the students?
I think-
Especially when you're talking about 10, 11, 12-year-olds.
Yeah, I think
That
there's-
families should be invited to attend these,
Yeah,
if it's happening at the middle school.
yeah,
Am I being clear?
yeah.
If-
They
so-
do both,
so-
though.
Right, so
I don't think
if
they're changing it.
Southeastern and/or Norfolk Aggie wanted to hold a night for families and so on at our middle school, we have a responsibility to provide that to them, so the families. So you come, you know,
They
with.
reach out.
Correct.
We're not doing it.
Well,
They
no,
just have-
no, if they want to say, if they now want to say to us, can you please have your building open for us one date in the fall for the purposes of us talking to families, we basically, under these new regulations, have to do that.
Okay, so
We're-
that's
we're-
not something we're going to do
we
on a
can't put
regular
up-
basis. It's
Right, we
just
can't put up
on request.
roadblocks. We can't put up roadblocks for kids not getting the information. That's part of what this is coming from, is that the new, and everybody's really concerned
Yeah,
about the
I just
water.
want to know practically how this now is going to affect middle school operations.
Yep.
So what is going to happen that's different from what we've been doing? It sounds like maybe kind of nothing, because we're already doing it, so.
That's pretty close. So there are school systems, for example, who haven't allowed for a presentation in the auditorium by their vocational sending
Okay.
school. And so all of this comes through this whole process of, wait a minute, this shouldn't be happening. In my days, when I was at a voc school, as you may recall, I was an administrator at a voc school, and we actually, in those days, the kids would come during their regular school day with buses to Tri-County and spend an entire day visiting all of the shops and being provided lunch, and then back to the bus and sent back to Franklin High School, or Franklin Middle School, or Seekonk, or of the 9 different
And
communities.
is that part of what we are going to be now doing?
That is not part of our responsibility to do.
We're not going to do it, because
Right.
that would have a cost to
Right,
it.
correct. But it's not, what they're basically saying, at minimum, this is what you have to do and how you do it. And we've been doing it in Stoughton for quite a long time. This is an answer to outside of Stoughton situations.
Okay, but it isn't something like I had thought that the families actually are able to partake. It's just the students are going and having some information being given during the school day. It is not an after-school thing, or it's not like something sent home with the kids.
Correct.
It's just, hey, 10-year-old, you have an opportunity.
Yep.
And maybe the parents would find out, maybe they wouldn't.
Yeah, and to Karen's point, we transferred in halfway through the school year in 8th grade with every intent for our daughter wanting to attend the vocational school, and that entire opportunity passed us by. We didn't find out until the summer, where it was too late for her to apply. So I do think it's an opportunity to refine that process to ensure that all parents who are interested and all students who are interested have the opportunity to receive that orientation.
And that's going to be one of the big hiccups, because in the past, they've had a somewhat rolling admissions, right? They have this date, and they kind of keep it open, then we shut down, then there's a waiting list, and they really see what kids are coming, which kids aren't. Now we're going to a lottery. So if your kid hasn't enrolled by a certain date in Stoughton Public Schools Middle School, you may not be in the lottery.
Right.
Because you never had that opportunity. So, because lotteries doesn't necessarily mean, we're going to take 5 numbers today and 7 numbers tomorrow. It's usually, a lottery is usually done at one time, one place. And everybody gets their code number or whatever it may be.
But that's not something that that's
We have
something that
nothing to
they're
do with it.
doing. We have no
Correct.
control over that.
Correct.
What we do have control over is even just finding some way to inform parents
Correct.
of these deadlines and these dates, and that they do have an opportunity to actually go to an open house, so that they know, because these schools are not the same as the schools when you and I were going through these schools. They're a very different school system now, and they should have the opportunity to maybe go and see if that's something that them and their students are interested in. But if you leave it up to kids, especially in middle school kids, that paperwork gets stuffed on the bottom of that backpack. Actually, not the backpack, because they're not allowed to have backpacks in the middle school, but that gets stuffed somewhere. Oh, they get it
So an
in their
example.
lockers or something. It's stuffed in the bottom of the locker.
An example of communication, which does go to the parent, is, for example, my newsletter, or the principal's newsletter. That goes directly to families, not to the students. So, yes, people have to open emails to get that type of thing. I know, for example, that last week, I don't have a child attending school, but I received a private school's mailer for their upcoming open house in October. And so you're seeing more and more of that. But we do a pretty good job. We'll communicate. I'll have the acting principal, Ms. Kellogg, put something in writing this month for the school committee, so you can see all the different things that we've done in the past and things that we are doing, so that we have some factual information.
I would like to see the school be a little bit more proactive in telling the middle school families all the opportunities that are out there.
So Karen, if I'm hearing you, I hear you correctly in terms of the action steps, but in terms of the policy, did you want that spelled out in the policy, or do you feel the policy is fine as is?
I wouldn't mind seeing it spelled out in the policy so that we're ensuring that it's happening.
The only argument I would make is don't have your policy become your procedures. I think what you can do is hold us accountable to the procedures, making sure, and that's why the attestation is now there. I've never had to sign off on anything that we are doing A, B, C, D for the Voc School or the Aggie. So that's part of the process. So let us work on making sure that we're communicating very clearly what we're going to be doing in terms of communication. I mean, putting it into the policy, totally your decision, not mine. But I just want to make sure that we're giving the school the procedures to handle on what they have to do versus it being in the policy.
So it's something that we're not voting on it tonight.
No.
That is correct.
So it's something that we can
Informational.
consider and put in there. And would you be able to have some kind of procedures for us to look at?
I will be working on it according to the note I gave myself right now.
All right, that would be great. I'd like to see it to be more than just an email sent home,
Yep.
because
Yep.
although, you say that parents, they should open their emails, honestly, some parents don't have access to Wi-Fi or computers, and I don't want those families to miss out just because they're unable for their own family reasons.
Understood.
All right, thank you.
So I'd like to request that the policy committee think about what that might look like, if it makes sense to do that, or if it makes sense simply to have accountability check-ins with the superintendent and the staff. So if you guys can discuss that and bring your recommendation forward, really appreciate it. Any other questions regarding the middle school pathway exploration policy? Hearing none, moving on to approval of minutes. So are there any amendments to the September 3rd, 2025 meeting minutes? I just have the 3rd, so. All right. None? Wow. Way to go, Nicole. Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the September 3rd, 2025 meeting minutes?
So moved.
All right, that was made by Jen. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Jillian. Motion moved and seconded. Roll call vote.
Aye.
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 Motion carries 5-0. All right. And we are not going to, we're going to wait on the September 9th minutes. We had a technical difficulty and the recorder was not working, so it's taking a little longer for her to pull those minutes together. Our next regular meeting of the school committee is October 14th, 2025 at 6 p.m. here at the district office. With that, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
That was made by Jen Sears. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Armando. Motion has been moved and seconded. Roll call vote.
Aye.
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 Motion carries 5-0. And we adjourn at, I don't trust you. Oh, my watch, I guess I have to trust you. 8:31.
Are you on Verizon? Because that's what I'm on.
No, my watch died.
Thanks, everybody.